Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of Before the Bald Man Speaks. I'm your host, as always, Andrew the Clown Kid Lawrence. This is the 50th episode of Before the Bald Man Speaks. Time just kind of goes by, and all of a sudden you've been doing the show for a year. God damn it. It's not something to celebrate. It's probably something more like more akin to a funeral than any kind of like birthday celebration for the show. So we're 50 episodes closer to our inevitable doom. Helping us commemorate, eulogize this great show in our impending deaths as human beings. You know him from the Twitter account, All That MMA. It's Wesley Riddle. How you doing, brother?
What's happening, man? I'm doing well. Glad to be on your 50th episode. I really appreciate you having me on for the first time, making my debut. And can't wait. Let's talk about this card.
Yeah, man, it was an okay night of fights. In night, I should retract that one because it was early afternoon into late afternoon for me over here. It's about supper time. I caught a nice lunch during these terrible preliminary cards, and then got to settle back and enjoy some pretty good fights in the main card. If you were strategic in this card and you did what I said. Wait until 2 o'clock, skip a bunch of the early prelims. You could have enjoyed a really nice card watching from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock today.
And unfortunately, I didn't do that. I decided I would be that one person that sits there from the beginning all the way to the end and kind of just feel like I wasted a few hours of my life watching some lackluster fights. But it turned out okay. In the end, there were some pretty decent fights and some good outcomes. Some fighters made some impressive performances. And overall, I mean, it wasn't the best card, but we were able to see some good performances.
There was some good stuff, and I think that we'll even find some gems and some decent fights in the preliminary portion of this card. But let's focus, on the main event. It's what put the asses in the seats. Josh Barnett getting the third round submission victory over Andrei Arlovski. Threatens with the Kimura. After a dominating second round, gets the top position in the third. Threatens with the Kimura. Ends up finding a rear naked choke when Arlovski has to bail. A really, really bizarre and wild fight that probably is very typical of kind of the ancient division of mixed martial arts in the UFC. What did you think about Josh Barnett's performance? Where do you rank him in the top 10 in all of that?
I kind of would say I'd rank him kind of near the end of the top 10 division. For a couple reasons. I feel like that him and Arlovski, they're both kind of at the end of their careers. They have made this resurgence, and they have come back in recent performances, especially in the past kind of about a year and a half or two ago. But I think that overall, Barnett's performance was pretty well against Arlovski. He was there he is. What's up, Nick?
Hey, Nick, I'm about to eject you right now.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm making a quick appearance, but yeah.
What did you think about the main event?
I mean, the main event was decent. The first 20 seconds were amazing, of course, with both of them trading punches.
I actually thought about that. I was like, this is a Nick Baldwin fight right here when they were just like some sloppy-ass technique and dudes getting cracked.
Yeah, especially because I've been saying that Sean O'Connell and Steve Bossage is my fight of the year.
Right of the year, exactly. Right up your alley.
But honestly, it was enjoyable, but it wasn't that enjoyable. They slowed down. But Josh Barnett kind of returning to his roots, looking really good in the clinch, looking good on the mat, of course, how he got the victory. Andrei Arlovski's cardio did not hold up. Barnett's barely did. Overall, it was a pretty enjoyable fight, but nothing to write home about.
How upset were you that that Josh Barnett wasn't wearing old school black wrestling trunks?
I thought you were going to say how upset were you that Latifi lost.
We're not talking yet. We haven't.
I wasn't too upset about the trunks for Josh Barnett, but that part, the Latifi part, definitely was upsetting.
All right, now Wes, what were you saying about before we were so rudely interrupted by this Canadian?
On the way to go, freaking! Yeah. I mean, all the Canadians are very similar in that aspect. No, I'm just kidding. But I think Josh Barnett, when it comes to him. The first round, within those first 30 seconds, it was crazy. We kind of saw those sloppy exchanges going back and forth. I think Arlovski got dropped for a second first. He got back up, then dropped Barnett, and then it was the other way around. But then Arlovski's cardio kind of it fell. At the end of the round, you could tell that he was fatigued. the second round, as soon as Barnett scored that takedown, he just overwhelmed him with pressure. And I think he had one moment in that second round where he was able to land a few shots. I'm not sure. I think that I can't remember what round that was in. The card was so lackluster. I'm already having memory problems. But I think Barnett did look pretty good, and he did look better than Arlovski. But I haven't really been impressed with Arlovski too much, even though he has had some victorious wins over some notable fighters recently. So it was an okay performance, but I don't think he's going to be able to get past the hurdle of those fighters like Roy Nelson and Andrei Arlovski. So I think he's going to be kind of stuck there in the middle for a little bit because he does have great clinch. He does have some great jiu-jitsu on the ground. For example, he submitted Dean Lister in that jiu-jitsu tournament that was just a few years ago, or about a year ago, I think. So
Nakamura looked nice in this fight, and you don't really see a lot of people working a Kimura at a very high level like that.
Right, and especially the fact that he was able to take it to the ground with ease. I know Arlovski doesn't have – I think he has decent takedown defense, but I don't think he's fought anybody with the caliber of wrestling and jiu-jitsu that Josh Barnett has. So it was an okay performance for Barnett, not a good performance for Arlovski, but I do think that Barnett's going to kind of get stuck here in the middle of the division.
All right, does Barnett get like an actual real fight after this? And by a real fight, I mean a fight of consequence. I would label this a fight of consequence because both guys got main events and they're going to end up getting to get a payday. Nick, what do you think? Does Barnett get like a real name here, or do we keep him in the Legends division, fucking around with like a Mirko Krokop style fighter?
Quickly, why does it sound like we're all in tunnels?
I don't know. What's the deal with that?
I hear that over here too. I don't know.
I think, Andrew, you have your AC cranked up all the way. And now this is proof that this is why I forced you to turn it off on the circus.
Incorrect. I do not have the AC on.
Any cross listeners of the circus and Before the Ball Might Speak now know why I make you turn it off.
Yeah. No, this isn't me. There is some other.
I'm gonna blame me. I think it's my fault because I'm in this echoey room that's in my school. I swear it's my fault. But oh well.
We will for sure. Nikki, what do we think? Is Barnett going to get a good fight out of this, or are we going to see him relegated to like the third spot on pay-per-view, 3 months from now?
I mean,
who else is there out there to fight? What are the big names?
What about JDS? What about the Brazil card? Or is there a Brazil card coming up that needs a headliner? I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of the Cyborg card, but I mean JDS that wouldn't be a bad option. I don't know. Arlovski. The thing with Arlovski is that he was on a tear. He turned, looked terrible against Schaub, but has looked good since, and then fell 3 times in a row in 2016. So I don't know where to put Arlovski either in the division.
Would you think Andrei Arlovski should retire?
He should, but I don't think he will.
Okay, yeah.
I can second that. I'm the same way.
The thing is, though, that it's the heavyweight division, so I mean he's not really any older than anyone else. So I don't think he'll retire. I think if he was a lightweight fighter, I think he would already been retired. But because it's heavyweight, I think he has another few fights left.
Can the Black Beast beat Josh Barnett?
I think he has a really good chance.
Wes, what do you think?
If he can do what he did against Roy Nelson, then I think he can, because I don't think Joshua Barnett can take that much punishment.
Probably not. I think that you might want to rank the Black Beast, Derek Lewis, over Josh Barnett right now, as crazy as that sounds.
I mean, I can agree. I'm kind of in the same boat.
Francis Gano, what do you think about that?
Oh, Gano would rip Barnett apart.
You think so? I don't know. I give Barnett maybe.
That's a close fight because we've seen Gano against Cans.
I know, yeah.
What this fight reminded me of is that Josh Barnett's crafty as fuck, and being crafty as fuck is worth a lot in the UFC heavyweight division, especially if you could take a shot or two.
Yeah,
and he looked all right taking shots tonight.
Like, the thing is, with Josh Barnett, he could take down Derek Lewis and school him on the ground. Or Lewis could knock him out in a minute. Like, it's a really tough fight to call with him or Gano.
Yeah, definitely. Wes, what do you think about Barnett in this division? What would you like to see him matched up against? Do you want to see the classic? Do you want to see him fight one of these new, young, hungry dogs that we're talking about at 265 pounds?
Well, I was taking a look at the division, and I think the biggest thing that's going with Josh Barnett is that he is a name, and I don't think at this point in his career he should be fighting a bunch of cans, or in that case, just people that are really low in the division. I think he should be probably fighting some people that are still top 15 or maybe top 20, but people that do have a name in return, so they can feature him in a headliner and maybe some card that's outside of the United States. Because Josh Barnett does really well selling cards and getting views if they're not inside the United States. For example, if there was a Japan card, you could pair him up against somebody over there in Japan, and he would in the headliner, and there would be a lot of people wanting to see him fight. But I think it's going to be dependent on who the opponent is. So I'm thinking maybe somebody like that he hasn't fought. I thought of Mark Hunt would be a good example.
Yeah, right. That's a really good fight in Japan.
And that could be a main event because Mark Hunt does have a name over there as well. So I think
that could be a main event in America, in like a B tier market or in a pinch. I think that's a great fight. Yeah, go ahead.
Quickly, if Lesnar didn't pop, I think that would be a perfect option. Barnett and Lesnar.
Yeah, that would have been a really great fight because it would have been probably a great win for Brock Lesnar as well too. He did the Roy Nelson thing and fought in Japan. I would love to see him fight a big fight in Japan like that with someone of a Roy Nelson name, a fading guy. He recently destroyed Frank Mir rather. So I don't know. You got to figure some kind of names like this. Those are fights that I like seeing Josh Barnett in.
There aren't that many great options right now because all of the guys on their way out, but kind of like the likes of Ben Rothwell, Mark Hunt, Barnett, Roy Nelson, all of them are coming off losses. And then you have to go
to... you're going all robot on us, but we get what you're saying.
Something like for Doom or DD, so keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you hear me?
No, we heard you at the end there. Okay. But we got the gist of it. It's hard to get it's hard to get a big name right now, as crazy as heavyweight is. But let's stop talking about this goddamn heavyweight main event. It was a good fight, actually, and probably a better to fight delivering than I expected it to be, honestly, though. I give it a B+. Alexander Gustafsson in a little bit of a lackluster spot, but clearly outclasses Jan Blachowicz. 30-27 across the boards, all three judges, unanimous decision victory for him. Utilizing the takedown, making, putting a lot of damage on him with the ground and pound. What did you think about Lusty Gusty here, Wes?
I think that in the first round I was a little bit worried because we saw that Jan was able to tee off a lot of shots. He was able to get on the inside and land the first punches, and that didn't give Gustafsson a chance to react because he'd react from the punches itself. So the first round I thought was pretty good up until the last minute, and in my head I was consistently thinking that once Gustafsson can score a takedown, that should be the end of the fight, because we have seen, especially when Blachowicz fought Corey Anderson, that was a great example. The first few minutes of that fight seemed to go in hand with Blachowicz, but Corey was able to score the takedown, and that's when Blachowicz cardio fell. And then as the fight progressively went on, we saw Gustafsson take more and more control of the fight. And I thought that was going to be a very important factor, which it did turn out to be. And he did get the unanimous decision. I thought he could get a finish because we have seen Blachowicz kind of fall before, especially I think he lost to Sokoju or Sokojau, however you say it.
Yep, Sokoju.
And I think he retired in that fight. I don't know how, but that's just an example. That right there, he's not a high caliber fighter anymore, so you think that maybe he would be able to get the finish. But that was my take on it.
Yeah, definitely. Alexander Gustafsson here. And overall, the fight, I thought the more interesting parts of the fight were where Jan Blachowicz was successful and where he could be dangerous and actually land a lot of damage on Gustafsson. And that's what made the fight exciting. It really became dull when Gustafsson took control because he was clearly outclassing him with very simple takedowns. Nick, what did you think about Gustafsson's performance, and how much credit do you give to Jan Blachowicz here?
I mean, you got to give some credit to Jan Blachowicz because he stepped up against a former title challenger, two-time title challenger, still a top guy in the light heavyweight division, top 20, and he's fighting the number 2 guy in the world. So for stepping up and not getting finished and whatnot, I wasn't overly impressed with Alexander Gustafsson, just because he wasn't looking that good on the feet early on. Blachowicz was actually connecting with a few shots, and props to Blachowicz again. But I still believe if you're going to consider Gustafsson a top contender, a guy ready to make another run of the title, fight the best of the best, DC, Rumble, Jones, etc., you should probably be beating Jan Blachowicz on the feet and not getting he never got rocked by him, but Jan definitely did connect. But I do give a lot of props to Gustafsson for perhaps altering his game plan a little bit midway through the fight when he realized, hey, I'm getting hit on the feet. I'm not doing too well on the feet. Let's go to the ground. Blachowicz clearly had flaws in his takedown defense. Gustafsson outclassed him on the ground with his takedowns and then followed up by ground and pound, elbows, etc. Long limbs. So overall, a good thing. And this guy, can you hear me?
Yeah, you were really good for quite a while there, Nicholas. It was really nice, and then you went straight robotic on us.
Just fell apart.
But yeah, definitely. I think that you brought up a good point. Alexander Gustafsson has a lot of question marks on his name if we're going to talk about him contending against the higher level of the 205-pound division. Let's not sugarcoat it. He was in two absolute wars in his last two fights, and he kind of probably needed a bounce-back fight like this. The Jones fight and the DC fight. Maybe there was a fight in between that. I think he might have mauled like Jimmy Manuwa in between them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was his last win, which actually came in
March 2014. Yeah.
But that seems to be the program with Alexander Gustafsson. It's almost like these opponents are too easy for him, so we really can't gauge his ability. Alexander Gustafsson's a fighter who's rose to the occasion on the two biggest stages he had, and maybe he's a fighter who has that ability. Wes, what do you think about Gustafsson, and where do you want to see him insert himself into the title picture, if at all?
I think one thing that kind of hurt Gustafsson today was the fact he didn't get that finish.
Yeah.
Because he has been away from the sport since losing to Cormier, which was for the light heavyweight championship. The fact that he came back and beat a guy that wasn't really ranked too high, he wasn't ranked top 10, I think that hurts slightly, just because we weren't able to see how he would do if he were to fight a higher caliber opponent. And I was just looking at his record now. His last wins have came over Blachowicz, which was today, Manuwa back in March of 2014, and then before that, it was this fight before John Jones when he fought Shogun. So I think we need to see him fight someone kind of high caliber that's not maybe not a title contender, maybe just one more fight and then get a title contender fight, just because I don't know how he has been able to develop. We were able to see some of his skills, but he just struggled on the feet, and that's one thing I have a problem kind of understanding, because I know there are some light heavyweights that do have some strength that might be able to challenge him on the feet and could get a finish over him. So it's very interesting. I think he might still be a little way away from the championship, especially the fact that the last fight that he lost was to Cormier, and Cormier is I'm having a blank. Does he even have a fight?
Cormier doesn't have a fight right now. I
didn't think so.
Well, I think a lot of people are waiting on the kind of results of this John Jones debacle, and if not, we'll move into that Anthony Rumble Johnson fight with DC. That's why I really think that right now Alexander Gustafsson probably wants to play himself into one more key fight in a matchup, and then he's looking at a title fight. If that's something he wants, he might want to extend it and play out his options a little bit longer and take some more time until he takes another title fight against DC. Because, let's not discount Anthony Rumble Johnson, but I think both those matchups are sizable question marks for him. And I wonder if Alexander Gustafsson's confidence is there. He's a guy who talked about, retiring after his last loss. And I know that was a devastating loss for him, but still, it's got to bring up questions about where his head is at and where he sees his career progress. Jan Blachowicz in a loss, does his stock go up or does his stock go down? Because while he did have some success on the feet, he kind of looked like a fool, letting up some real easy takedowns. An unranked guy, a guy who has lost 3 out of his last 4, be that as it may, against some decent competition. We're not talking about world beaters when you're talking about losing to Jimmy Manuwa, Corey Anderson, beating Igor Krayak, and then losing to Alexander Gustafsson. Nick, what do you think ends up happening with Mr. Blachowicz?
I think he sticks around because I don't think cutting a guy off a loss to Alexander Gustafsson is something that can happen or should happen or will happen. I don't think his stock changes because he got beat fairly decisively by a top guy. He didn't look good enough for me to think, oh, this guy is actually pretty legit, but he didn't get smoked enough. Like, his stock does not change after this fight. He stepped up against the top guy. He looked okay, but that's about it.
Sure. Wes, what do you think?
Well, I know that the only area he really had success was on the feet. I kind of agree with Nick in that case. I don't think he should be cut. Of course not, because Gustafsson is such a high caliber opponent. But I would put him maybe on the chopping block. I think if one more fight, if they were to toss him in there with somebody that's kind of lower level, which they should, he needs to get that win. And if he doesn't get that win, he's going to be in trouble. So I'm thinking maybe, I kind of thought about it for a minute after that fight happened and thought maybe an opponent in that case would be Jean Vellante, but that might be a little bit too hard of an opponent for him. Or maybe too easy of an opponent because John does have a name too. A lot of people do like to watch him fight. From what I've seen, so.
Yep, love the matchmaking with John Vellante. I think that's a really good fight. A person of his equal stature and equal caliber. John's rolling off of a win, even though Jan lost. It's about a much bigger profile loss against a much bigger name. I 100% agree. Jan Blachowicz is on the chopping block on his next fight. So looking for a favorable matchup, hopefully, if you want to see him stick around in the UFC. Let's talk about the other 205 matchup on the card. And Ryan Bader's second round KO victory over the horse lord himself, Yair Latifi, comes at 2 minutes and 6 seconds. To everyone's sorrow, I think that everyone who loves MMA has truly embraced the spirit that is Yair Latifi.
Did you say that Ryan Bader knocked out Yair Latifi? Is that right?
Yes.
Did I get that right?
This is what happened. We are not. We are not tower severing Ryan Bader's victory. He was the favorite going into this fight, but I think there was a lot of late money and a lot of hopeful money on Latifi. And Latifi showed some power. He executed in the end of the first round, landed some really good shots. But ultimately, his predictability caught up with him, and Ryan Bader caught him, ducking down with a big knee, walkout KO. Kind of one of those memorable highlight reel moments for Ryan Bader's career, and not how we really wanted this fight to end. Wes, how heartbreaking was this for you? You're clearly in all kinds of denial.
Pretty sad, but I can say one thing though, that Ryan Bader has drastically has improved his striking over the course of these past few fights. I think that was very noted. We did see that in the first round, he actually didn't shoot that often for takedowns. I don't even know how many times he did shoot, but the person that was shooting was Yair Latifi, and every single time that he shot, Ryan Bader was able to defend those takedowns. And I think over the course, as you mentioned a second ago, those takedown shots from Latifi became predictable. And as the fight got into the second round, maybe I don't know what his coaches told Bader, but I'm going to guess that at some point they said, Bader, Latifi keeps shooting for these takedowns. You need to be able to expect them and predict them when they come. And you better be able to land a shot. And I think he did land a few knees here and there as the fight got over throughout the first round. I think he started to land a few knees here and there more often. But not a good performance from Latifi. He did have a few moments with the strikes in the first round. I think it also I don't know if this is true or not, but his size, I feel like, did play a little bit of a factor in that fight.
Huge.
Yeah, especially he can't really go in. He's usually the one that likes to tee off first, and he couldn't get inside the reach of Bader. And because he's so short and doesn't have a real big reach advantage. So I think that did hurt him in the end. But impressive performance for Bader, really impressed with his striking, and definitely one of the most important wins of his career, especially coming off that first round loss to Rumble.
Yeah, you mentioned his striking. It's vastly improved. His head movement's all over the place, especially in that first round. He was really neutralizing a lot of what Latifi could do. The only way that Latifi seemed like he could land is if he lunged in and he was throwing these big reaching shots that didn't really land with enough success rate. He caught him at the end of that 5th round, definitely, but I think that Bader shrugged it off, and his chin was able to kind of hold up. It was just a stunning knockdown, not anything that put him in danger of ending the fight. Nick, what did you think about the Horse Lord? Was Ryan Bader just too big and too long for him?
Well, I said on our show, the MMA Circus, that even though I picked Ilir Latifi, I had a feeling Bader's size could play into this fight, and it did, as you guys said there. He was able to capitalize on not a mistake, but just Latifi being too predictable, going for the level change, going for the takedown, dropping his head. And what you know, he got the knee in the face, and that was that. It was a great performance by Ryan Bader, who was down on the scorecards. I felt in that second round, I felt Latifi, his wobbling of Bader in the first round at the end of it probably secured him that first round, and then he was looking all right in the second round. But Bader, as I said, his striking has improved a lot. Now, a lot of people have been giving him credit for that, but I didn't expect his power to come through this afternoon. It did just that. I'm not going to go out and say Ryan Bader is the next Anthony Rumble Johnson, but he does have knockout power, and it was a great performance. If Bader had decisioned Ilir Latifi, I wouldn't have been that surprised. But Bader knocking out Latifi, that was very shocking to me.
Yep. And I think the easy matchmaking here, I'm realizing now, is that Ryan Bader should fight Alexander Gustafsson in the holdoff. Yep. And probably that's a legit #1 contender fight if John Jones ends up on the sideline for a significant portion of time.
Definitely.
And I also like that fight, too, because they have never fought before, and I think that's important because we haven't seen Bader get the title shot yet, so if he were to be able to defeat Alexander Gustafsson, that would be huge. That would give him his first chance.
Yeah,
and then you could do Glover versus Latifi, perhaps. Although that's another step up for Latifi, so I don't know.
I think that's a fine step up for both guys, and at this point in the 205 division, we've recycled these names quite a bit, so we got to see who lands where. Alexander Gustafsson's in an interesting spot in his career because he's been around the UFC for quite a while. Started in the UFC in his 8th fight or so. So he's fought a vast majority of everyone in the 205 division at least once. So to have a name that he hasn't fought in Ryan Bader, it makes a lot of sense, and it's a good holdover. I think both guys could be a legit challenge, at least a temporary one, while we figure out what the hell's going on with the greatest MMA fighter of all time, Mr. John Jones. Nick Hein, hometown Mr. Germany.
We're talking about this?
Yeah, we're talking about this. I thought that this was a good fight. I've marked this fight as it was a unanimous decision victory over Tai Hyun Bang, 30-28, 30-27, and 29-28. Nick fucking hated it, so fuck what you want to say about this fight, Nick. And what did you think about Nick Hein's performance? I thought that it was really interesting. Tai Hyun Bang came back in that second, laid down a lot of authority, and started actually fading his shots, but Nick Hein kind of gritted it out and tough-manned him.
Yeah, I thought Bang did find some success in the second round, but I thought pretty much throughout the whole fight, they seemed both a little bit too timid on the feet. Yeah. There was a lot of dancing around. I thought at certain points when if Hein could have been a little bit more aggressive, I think that he could have possibly been able to get a finish. I thought he did have some great footwork. That was one thing I was really impressed with. I did say he was dancing around, but footwork was very important. And it looked great. I thought it was one of his most impressive performances in the UFC. But the only times that they were able to engage in the striking, I thought Hein had the upper hand. I thought it was an okay performance, but I don't know how he's going to fare against higher level competition. I think his only loss in the UFC came to James Vick, where he did drop James twice in the first round. So he does have some good striking, some good power, but I think he needs to, in his future game, have a few more combinations and be a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, if you compare Nick Hein and how he moved in this fight, he was just moving a lot more fluidly. So we could criticize his striking a lot, but it used to be a lot more shit. I think that keeping Nick Hein around for the German market's genius. Give him little tests, but keep him floating. He's in a perfect weight class for there's a lot of opponents to go through, and you don't need to necessarily quickly ascend the ranks at 155 pounds. Nick, why did you think this fight sucked so bad?
Because not a whole lot happened. I don't like watching Nick Hein fight because he doesn't take really any risk whatsoever. He is the safest fighter I guess you've seen, because I mean, I'm not asking guys to go out there and take a huge risk, put their chin out there and asking their opponents to knock them out, but go after the finish when you perhaps can capitalize. Nick Hein has no finishing power either. Chai Han Bang, both guys were tentative. I just did not enjoy the fight really whatsoever, like a lot of this card.
And one thing I can't add that you just said, Nick, I found this statistic that somebody tweeted out. Nick Hein's last stoppage actually came 1,071 days ago, which is 2 years, 11 months, and 6 days.
Okay. All right.
I thought I'd just share that. I thought that was pretty cool. So, but you pointed it out. I mean, he doesn't have that finishing capability.
He hasn't knocked anyone out in 2 years. That's what that means. Like, if we say the days, every single day, it sounds a lot worse. Poor Nick Hines. How many fights has that been? Anyway, hold on. I'm going to find out right now. Nick Hines has won his last 3 fights. Congratulations. They were all kind of snooze fests in Germany. Or where were they? Yep, Germany, Japan, Germany. Lost to James Vick when we brought him to the U.S. So never let this guy leave Germany. Here we go. Hasn't knocked out a dude since... Okay, so it was 6 fights. That
James Vick fight, if I remember correctly, was actually not bad. So
yeah, he did drop him twice in that fight.
Yeah, so give him some props. James Vick has some good boxing, slick guy. You know, you got to keep a German moneymaker around if you're the UFC. You know, what are you going to headline these cars?
I know he's German, but that's about it.
Yeah, and I also think it's important because how many prospects or fighters do you know that are in the UFC that are from Germany? So they need to put some of those fighters that are from their country, their home country, on the market. And I think Nick Hein is going to be a good fighter because he is on this win streak that he has right now.
All right, enough about Nick Hein in this.
Why not just pick up random Germans off the street to?
Because he's a police officer. He's a handsome-looking police officer. He's got decent striking, Nicholas. And you're being an asshole. This fight was a B, but treat it like it was a C. This is a B fight.
It was a
back
D.
and forth. Oh, you're the worst. You have no clue what happens.
I'd say a B minus. B minus.
Okay, good. You split the difference. All right. We'll talk about Germany now and how they did, because Nick Hein won. We also had Jessen Aria, who claimed that he I'm sorry, it was Peter Sabata who was the German who claimed Jamaica. But Jessen, another German guy, won probably the fight of the night, split decision victory over Jim Wallhead. Interesting fight. How did you score this one, Nick? Tell me the rounds.
I didn't watch it that closely. It seemed, going by Twitter, it seemed like it really could go either way. Like a split was expected.
Okay, then no one cares about your opinion. You didn't even watch it closely. You don't even have your round scored. Come on, man.
Yeah, 3-2 Wallhead, or not 3-2, 2-1 Wallhead probably. But I don't know.
2-1 Wallhead. All right, how did you score it, Wes?
I had to go back to look. I actually scored at 30-27 for Wallhead. I thought he did a little more each round to be able to capitalize and get the attention of the judges. So I did have it scored all 3 rounds for Wallhead. I thought he did have some good strikes. I think the first round was kind of one of the closer rounds of that fight. But I think maybe in the third round that I thought there was one round that I thought he sealed 100%.
Wallhead in the third round hits him with the shot that basically probably could have finished the fight, but he was exhausted and losing that round pretty consistently. The second round was extremely close, could have gone really either way. It was a toss-up, but because Aria turned the tide late, a lot of people gave him the second round because I thought it was clear that Wallhead won the first. I scored it 2-1 for Jessen Aria. I thought that this was actually a really good fight between 2 prospects. I think this is in the welterweight division. This is some good European fights. If they want to get people excited over in Europe about the product and get some homegrown stars, you can start having some lower level guys like these guys throw down. Jim Wallhead in his debut, availed himself pretty well. So my hat's off to both of them. But we're moving on. Peter Sabata claimed Jamaica, but another German citizen, an underdog, a rare underdog in this fight, got the unanimous decision victory over Nicholas Dalby. Clipped him early in the first, and then basically bullied him around, wore him around like a goddamn hat with all 3 rounds. Nick, are you impressed, or did you not care because it was Nicholas Dalby?
No, I was actually pretty impressed because I did have Dalby going into this fight. I've always been a guy that has been a bit iffy when it comes to Dalby. I've never thought. I think I've always kind of been under the impression that he's a bit overrated, but Sabata did what he had to do. Both guys are grinding fighters. I just felt Dalby being a bit more athletic and fight years wise a bit younger. I thought that would play into this fight, but no, it didn't. Peter Sabata looked fantastic, grinded out a victory, and it was a great performance.
Peter Sabata definitely, great job in the fight, transitioning between the striking and the grappling aspects. When you're able to seamlessly transition, it always seems like you have a leg up on your opponent. We're probably seeing, in my opinion, that we've overhyped Nicholas Dalby. Wes, what did you think, man?
I was really impressed with Peter Sabata in this fight. I thought the first thing I thought of was Peter Sabata then and Peter Sabata now, because back when Peter Sabata used to fight in the UFC, which I think was back in 2010, he wasn't that good. He was losing to guys that weren't really at the top of the division anyways. I think one of them was Amir Sadala. But then he comes back. I think he starts racking up these wins in another promotion or outside promotions over in Germany and starts beating these guys in the first round. The UFC re-signs him. And then he gets on a 2-fight win streak, loses that one fight to Kyle Noak, which was pretty brutal, that liver kick to the stomach. But then he comes out there against a guy like Nicholas Dalby, who does have some good striking, and was able to drop him within, I guess, I don't know how early it was in the fight, but it was pretty early. I think it might have been the first minute or at the end of the first minute. And from that point on, he kind of took over the fight. In the second round, he found some more success with he utilized, like you said, the wrestling and the strikes really well. And pretty much put on, I thought, in my opinion, was the best performance of maybe his entire career.
Yeah, it probably was. But nonetheless, we moving on. Let's break down this card in under 15 seconds for each person. Are you prepared for that? Ashley Evans Smith beat Veronica Macedo. TKO victory in round 3 at 2 minutes and 46 seconds. It was basically a case of a big girl beating the hell out of a little girl. We had the traditional women's mixed martial arts moves, the head and arm throws, really poor ground positioning, and then someone getting turtled up and rained on to end the fight. Wes, what did you think about Evan Smith here in this spot?
I thought it was definitely an impressive performance. I think that Veronica was a little bit overhyped coming into the fight just because she had that one head kick knockout win that kind of put her on the spotlight. But I don't think that she's UFC caliber. I think that she does have some good game, but I think it's going to take a little bit of time for her to fit her way into the division.
Boom. Perfect timing,
just like
Nicholas.
That.
Yeah, you nailed it. Nicholas, can you make the under 30 limit? Go.
I'm not good at that, but I'll try. Macedo's kicks were really good, but Ashley, her size played into this fight, was able to get the takedowns, and ultimately, she got the knockout win on the ground. Decent performance. It wasn't anything special, but okay performance.
Yeah, definitely. I think at least it keeps your position in the division. That's a girl who's clearly very young and needs to develop. Speaking of young, Veronica Macedo, I think, is the youngest woman on the roster now, so maybe this is part of her maturing process. Taylor Lapilus grabbing unanimous decision victory over Leandro Issa in an okay fight. Scores of 30-27 on 2 judges' scorecards and a 29-28. Taylor Lapilus, got stringing together a couple victories here. A really athletic dude, maybe someone who could develop into a person who could make a splash on the European scene. Wes, what did you think about this?
I thought it was a great performance for Taylor Lapilus, probably the best one in his UFC career. He looked very well-rounded, had some great conditioning, and I think he still needs some improvements in certain areas, but and also I think he needs to have a fight on the U.S. scene, but because he hasn't done that yet. So good fight, decent fight, pretty good performance, and can't wait to see where it goes from there.
Nick?
Yeah, I was actually quite entertained. Leandro Issa was going for the takedowns big in this fight. He wasn't really able to get them that much. I think he maybe got him down to the ground once, but he was right back up anyways. Lapilus looked really good on the feet. Nearly knocked out Issa in the first round.
Sure.
I'm pretty high on Taylor Lapilus. I think he's going to do big things in the bantamweight division moving forward.
I think the key here was the takedown defense for it. It looked really slick. And there's also the distance in his control between the striking exchanges there. So Issa just looked outclassed and didn't look like he could even get a grappling game started. I think that'll be key for Lapalus continuing forward. Cristiano Colombo drew with Jaris Danho with scores of 28-28 on 2 judges' scorecards and a 29-27. There was a foul for an eye poke, and no one cares because this fight was the worst MMA fight of the card, of the month, possibly of the year. I just don't have the heart to care. Moving on, Jack Hermosen beat Scott Askham, actually in a pretty entertaining bout, for early in the card. Unanimous decision victory, 30-27 times 2 and 29-28. A little bit of an upset here. It was basically a coin flip fight. Wes, what did you think about Jack Hermansen's performance?
I rode a little bit kind of high on Scott Askham coming into the fight because he did have that
head kick knockout.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite knockouts of the year. But then again, he knocked out Chris Dempsey.
Exactly, guys. You got to look at that way that one across the cage, man, because Clint Dempsey is basically the can of that division in mixed martial arts right now. It was shocking to me that they kept him in the UFC as long as they did. He's not even on the UFC roster anymore. He's getting knocked out in regional cards. That kick shouldn't really land. As nice as Scott Askham's highlight reel will look, because it lands so flush. It's not going to land against a dude like Jack. And Jack worked the body good and exploited all the areas that Scott really has detriments in his game.
Yeah, I think I underestimated Jack a little bit too, just because I haven't really had a chance to go and watch some of his highlights and past performances. Besides, I think he did fight. I think I mentioned this in a tweet. He actually did have a fight against Alir Latifi, and I had a chance to watch that fight before the card started, back in his amateur days.
Oh, it was an amateur fight. Did he win or lose?
He lost via submission.
Obviously, it's Latifi.
He got Latifi. He got Latifi. Oh, okay. Nick, what do you think about this fight, man? Anything to chip in?
I barely remember what happened. I remember it being pretty fun, a back and forth fight on the feet, but other than that, I don't know.
Look at you. You're so cool. You're too cool for school now. You're like, I don't remember the prelim fights, man. I was just like...
No. It's too cool for UFC, what is it, Hamberg? Yeah.
Too cool for a Saturday afternoon in Germany. Ruslan Havilov opened up this card. In kind of a shocking, turn of a career, if you think about it. Ruslan Havilov, of course, headlined the card not too long ago against Benson Henderson. I think that was Albuquerque card or something along those lines.
Yep.
That was 5 fights ago, but just about 2 years ago. And now he's the curtain jerker on a UFC Fight Pass prelim show from Germany, getting the unanimous decision victory, 30-27, 29-28 on 2 scorecards over Leandro Silva. And this was a boring fight as well. A fight that could have been the most boring fight had we not had some heavyweight fuckery. What did you think about Havilov here? We didn't get any of the suplexes we want. We saw some striking, but nothing really that was landed consistently. It seemed like there was just a lot of inactivity. Wes, do you care to comment?
I'll comment. I thought Kabilov, he's not the cleanest striker. I thought Silva's only chance was going to be to get a guillotine choke with Kabilov going in to try to get that suplex. Didn't happen. Good win for Kabilov. Not a fun fight. Very boring to start off, I thought, the main card, or the card itself. And probably never going to watch it again.
Yeah, definitely. I think Leandro Silva did, though, get an early knockdown. I think I scored the first round to him because he had a clean knockdown of on Rustam Havilov. And I'm hoping in some alternative universe that shot knocked him out and that there was an interesting card that followed. The hype of that one knockout made everyone else fight with a little bit more recklessness, and this card became a lot more interesting. Nick, do you want to live in this alternate universe with me, or do you want to card on this reality that we live in?
Nah, I'll come. But as far as this fight goes, I mean, Rustam Hablov in 2016. He's been declining. I don't know what's happened, but ever since after the Ben Henderson loss, which actually he looked good in, despite being submitted in that fight, he looked good in that fight. But ever since then, not that great of a fighter. Some people are still thinking, oh, this guy's top 15. Not, I don't think so. Leandro Issa was actually having some success on the feet. Kicks were pretty big for Leandro Silva, but at the end of the day, Hablov, his wrestling played into this fight a little bit, got a pair of takedowns, and ultimately sealed the deal.
Boom, and that's it. That's UFC Hamburg. This is an interesting episode. You know, not the greatest card in the world. We got a special extra guest with the Canadian Wonder Kid Nick joining us. Let's give out the awards first. Performance of the night. There wasn't too many performance of the nights out there, so try to get creative out there, boys. Wes, we'll start with you. Who do you got? Two of them.
Okay. Now I can only choose one performance of the night.
Two performance of the nights. Come on.
Two. Okay, just like they normally do. Easily Ryan Bader, vicious knockout with that knee. The second performance, I probably would give to Ashley Evans Smith.
Ooh, okay.
I thought Barnett had a good win, but I thought that I don't know. I just feel like Ashley Evans Smith deserves.
Give it to the people who need it. Give Ashley Evans Smith 50 G's. She's never going to smell any kind of money
Barnett's
like that
fine.
again.
Barnett will be fine.
Nikki, who do you got? You agree?
Fight of the night, Danho and Colombo. Performances, Nick Hine and Latifi for trying.
Okay, great.
I didn't say my fight of the night.
I'm glad you're having fun.
No, but for real, probably Barnett Arlovski fight of the night. Bader for sure. And yeah, I mean, they gave another 50 grand to Barnett, so he got 100. But maybe actually Evan Smith, because like Andrew said,
is that how it went down? Okay, this is what I'd give it to. I'd give performance to Bader. I'd give a performance to Josh Barnett. And my fight of the night's going to be Jimmy Wallhead against Jessen Aria. I think that's slick. Wes, you didn't give a fight of the night. What was yours?
That was it. I'm glad you said it because I thought that was a great fight. I thought they showed some great strikes. Both of them got robbed. It was pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
That was a boring fight for 10 minutes. Then it was good in the third round. But
I'm ejecting this dude. You're done.
No.
Nick, say goodbye to everyone. I'm gonna eject you.
I've had two early ejects from.
Speak goodbye. Bye.
Okay, check us out with the MMA Circus at UFC on Twitter. Adios, people.
Peace. Okay, and you're ejected. Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right. So let's put a grade on this fight. Fight Pass prelims from Germany. Fight Pass card from Germany. Middle of the afternoon. You can still go out to dinner with a lady right now. You can still go out and catch some drinks. Got plenty of time to catch a shower and a few beers, and have a whole fulfilling Saturday night. Keep that in mind when you give us your letter grade 8.5.
The shower is about to come after this, but overall, I haven't taken it yet today. So, and plus, I didn't even eat lunch because I was that kid that watched.
A lot of details, but the lunch thing, you should have grabbed lunch during these crappy prelims. I'm telling you. Next,
I was an idiot, but grade C-. Wasn't too happy with a lot of the fights. Don't think it was a D because there were some pretty entertaining finishes and a few good fights here and there, but I'd give it a C-. Not too good.
I'm in a happy mood or something because I gave this card a B-. I thought that this is better than average. I think it's mostly because I got to fast forward through some of the crap that happened in the first in the Fight Pass prelims, and I came in right around Nick Hine, which was an all right fight, and then watching Mr. Ryan Bader do what he did to Ilir Latifi. As a 4-card main event, watcher only, this was a pretty good card to watch, for 2-3 hours on a Saturday afternoon. Far too many decisions for my taste.
Yeah,
but,
there's a lot.
Yeah, but we'll have some more KOs in this next stretch of cards because we have cards basically filling up the rest of the year. There will be no episode of Before the Bald Man Speaks next week. Unfortunately, I'm attending the wedding of a dear friend, so I'll have to vicariously watch UFC 203 from Cleveland, Ohio on my cellular telephone while I'm supposed to be dancing with my girlfriend. Nick Baldwin is trying to get back in this program. Nick Baldwin, I'm signing off right now. I was going to give Wes a spot. Wes, you tell people where to go. Oh, no. Nick, do you have anything really to say?
I can't hear you right now.
Oh, good. That's okay. Good. Good. You're done. Ejected again. Double ejections. Wes, tell people where they can find you on Twitter.
I'm going to say real quick, too, unfortunately, I'm going to miss UFC 203 as well. I'm going to be at a fight card here in my town, helping out with an event.
What?
So I'm kind of bummed, but you can follow me on Twitter at All That MMA. My name is Wesley Riddle. If you ever have questions, feel free to DM me on Twitter or just tweet at me. Hopefully, going to try to get into some writing at some point because Nick decided he was going to be a little bummed and close down MMA Junior. So that was the only time I really had time to write. So I blame Nick on that, but no, I'm just kidding. But I need to give him a hard time anyways. So hopefully I can get into some writing again sometime soon. But All That MMA, that's my Twitter.
All right, thanks, Wes, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Thank you for everyone who listened to the end. We will thank the Wonderkid Nick for coming on and continuing his streak of being ejected. Y'all take it easy. Have a good one. Peace out, guys.